Hey, today we're going to build up a auto-generated verification and validation checklist for a variety of requirements that we've gathered from different sources for an edge programmable industrial controller. So what we have here is three spreadsheets that we're going to start with. One, which is a set of user requirements for this EPIC, things like the system shall support real-time control and monitoring, some system requirements like the controller shall support deterministic real-time operation with system latency less than 10 milliseconds, and some predetermined traceability to a user requirement. This is the kind of thing we can also come back and generate. And a set of IEC 61508 specific requirements. So this is the kind of thing we can also generate directly from the standard if we know the sections we want to look at. And this will be things like, hey, the system shall be designed to meet SIL2 requirements, and the traceability to some particular system requirement. This might be wrong. We'll come back and generate this later too. Let's go over to Saphira and start by creating a new project. So edge programmable industrial controller. And we can say something like this controller will be installed in industrial settings like paper mills and mines and must be safe to control safety functions. All right, and that's all we're going to start with. And so it should be pretty quick. This is going to generate a new project, and it's empty to begin with. So let's go over to requirements and import these spreadsheets as we know them. So we'll start off with just the user requirements that we looked at. So let's start with this one. We'll see the columns that are available, and let's perform some schema mapping. So we only care about mapping for this one, the key and the description. We can save this mapping if we decide to come back to this one. And let's get that submitted. And there are the first set of requirements. Next, let's import the second set of requirements. So we go back to the beginning. We will touch the RS, and we see the available columns now. And now let's do something a little bit extra. So we'll also mark the traceability user requirements as related objects. That makes them parents. That means that we'll be able to visualize this using the trace graph. And let's get that submitted. That's done. And let's do the very last one. So we'll navigate all the way back, and we'll pull up the 61508 requirements. All right. So this one, same deal, description, and related objects. And we have the verification method. We'll save the mapping, and we'll get this submitted. All right. There we go. So now we have all our requirements in place here. Let's clean up the view a little bit so it shows us actually just our traceability matrix. So we can remove type, we can remove value, we can remove logical operator, unit, and let's add a few things. Let's add the verification method. Let's add the priority. And then for later use, let's add the norm linked. Let's add the norm section. Let's add simulations verifications, which are in fact just tests, and let's add the status. And let's reorganize this in the way that we'd expect. So the first piece was we want the priority. That is the first thing we're going to see. Then we're going to see the verification method after the traceability. And then we want to see status, and let's see the tests that we're going to generate. And we'll come back to norms and sections, and user can come later. Okay, and let's go look at the graph really quickly. This shows us a nice breakdown of everything we saw here, and we can click in and view everything as we expected from here. So back in requirements, now we want to start generating our actual V&V checklists. So let's start at the very top and just check the box and generate a V&V checklist. And what this is doing in the back end is it's gathering all the information about this requirement, your project from any other documents that are provided, and the standards that you've referenced. So in this case, it's going to look at 61508 and consider any references from 61508 that it should apply when generating this checklist. And here we have it. Pretty nice checklist. It's going to tell you that we have some validation to do in terms of looking traceability. So just having human review and the same kind of thing we're automating here. We're going to validate the real-time functionality. You're going to validate some deterministic performance, etc., etc. And you can see that a lot of this is based on details that are provided at the level of the project. And we get a nice report that you can export, share with other stakeholders. And finally, at the very bottom, as you iterate on this, which we'll see in just a minute, when you're finally You're going to want to, for example, come in and fill back in the responsible reviewer, the date that it was completed, all the details that you'll relay off to your other stakeholders. So let's get this saved. And you can see now that if we come over back to the main view, you have a little bit better of your traceability matrix showing that you now have a test that is saved for this particular one, but the status is still unset. So let's click in. You can see this is just a link. To actually dig into the link, let's go over to the test page. We can see the details here. Let's go over here. And let's say, for example, that you've completed a bunch of these items. You've come down here and you say, okay, I'm signing off of this as Akshay Chalana, and I want to mark this one as passing. So now we can save all of this. We have the impact analysis. Good to go. Impact status related, updated to validated, and we can close out and head back over to the main view. And now you can see that this is validated, locked, and we have the test method verification locked. So you have this bit of your traceability matrix that is completely generated. Now, we can keep on doing this all the way down the line for each of these other IEC requirements, but this is the beginning for what Saphira can help you enable.